What happened to Pablo Escobar's family after his death? In the history of crime, very few have reached the levels of one Pablo Escobar, dubbed the King of Cocaine in his glory days. Escobar's Medellin cartel was the source of 80% of the cocaine found in the United States. This made him the wealthiest criminal in history, amassing an estimated net worth of $30 billion. But Escobar was as rich as he was feared, being responsible for the deaths of about 4,000 people, including 200 judges and 1,000 government officials. Thus, on December 2, 1993, when the authorities were finally able to take out the drug kingpin in a shootout, everyone outside of Escobar's crime group celebrated. Well, everyone except Escobar's weakness, his family. Which begs the question, what happened to his family after he died? Wife. In 1973, a 12-year-old girl by the name of Maria Victoria Henao met a 23-year-old Pablo Escobar. Despite their age gap, the two entered into a relationship and young Maria immediately fell in love with Pablo. According to her, Pablo was affectionate, sweet, and a gentleman. Very different from the character a lot of us came to know through the news. After 3 short years, Maria married Pablo and stayed with him even when she found out about his illegal business. She also claimed that Pablo was a good lover and a good father to their children. The couple had 2 kids, Juan Pablo and Manuela Escobar. But the marriage wasn't always rainbows and butterflies for the couple, especially because there were a lot of reports that Pablo had affairs with different women. Despite that, Maria still stuck with Pablo until the day he died. But from there, things only got difficult for the drug kingpin's wife and kids. As they quietly mourned Pablo's death, the Colombian police stormed Medellin and rounded up Escobar's cartel, which urged Maria Victoria to pack up her things and flee with her children. They tried to go to Germany and Mozambique, but they were denied asylum. Apparently, being the direct family of the notorious king of cocaine proved to be hard. Eventually, they found a country that accepted them in Argentina, and the family settled in Buenos Aires. There, the 3 promptly changed their names to shield them from people knowing who they really are. Maria Victoria Henao became Maria Isabel Santos, and they lived a peaceful, quiet life for several years. It wasn't until 1999 when the public heard of Escobar's family again, when Maria Victoria and his son Juan Pablo were both arrested on suspicion of money laundering and imprisoned for several months. This was after the authorities found out that they were in fact the direct family of the infamous criminal. Thankfully, the 2 were released because of the lack of evidence against them. In the following years, Maria stayed out of the spotlight until recently, when she released a book about her life with Pablo that she entitled Mrs. Escobar, My Life with Pablo. Son. When the family settled in Argentina, Juan Pablo also changed his name, now known as Sebastian Marroquin. The only legitimate son of Pablo Escobar is now an architect, lecturer, and author. While Maria Victoria has largely avoided the public eyes, save for a few instances, his son Juan Pablo took the opposite approach. Sebastian has never shied away from talking about his infamous dad. In an interview, Sebastian said he remembers the drug kingpin as a good and loving father. Some of his best memories include Escobar taking them to Disney World, where he would act like a child and play with his children. And even though he was scared of roller coasters and other rides, he would never miss an opportunity to ride it with his son. He also remembers going with his dad to help the poor in their community. He also wrote a book in 2014 entitled Pablo Escobar, My Father, wherein he talks about the softer side of the drug kingpin. That having said, Sebastian doesn't deny and has repeatedly urged the public to not glorify the life of his father, which was the case in the Netflix series Narcos. He has said that despite his father's money, power, and fame, he was also responsible for deaths of a lot of innocent civilians, something that to this day, Sebastian still feels remorse about. In fact, he has been seen on multiple occasions visiting the graves of his father's victims and bringing them flowers as an act of asking for forgiveness. Perhaps his most notable public appearance was in the documentary he helped create called The Sins of My Father. The message of the film was to reiterate that the Escobar violence died with his father, and that despite popular belief, he has no plans of taking up the business and avenging his father's death. Daughter. Out of Pablo Escobar's family, no one stayed away from the public eyes more than his daughter, Manuela. She hasn't given any interviews or comments about his infamous father, but according to reports, Manuela was Escobar's princess. When Pablo was forced to submit himself to a prison he made himself, he built a playhouse for little Manuela so she can visit him and be close to her father. One time, during her birthday, Manuela asked her dad for a unicorn, and instead of refusing her request, Pablo had his men stick wings and a horn on a white horse for his little girl. When Escobar died, Manuela was only 9 years old and didn't fully understand the severity of their situation. As a young girl, she had to adjust from living the life of a princess to being a normal girl in a barely middle-class family. Over the years, Manuela has been successful in living a life away from the spotlight and his father's legacy. Now, Juana Manuela Marroquin Santos, it is reported that she got a degree in public relations and is living a quiet and stable life. Still, Manuela carries the burden of his father's crime. To this day, she still lives in constant fear of being hunted down and killed by her father's enemies. This has led to depression and anxiety on her part, and she has been receiving psychological treatment to help her work through it. Pablo Escobar's mother, Hermilda de los Dolores Gaviria, has always been her most ardent supporter, and despite his son's crimes, she continued to assert that Pablo was a good man, and not the notorious drug kingpin that the public knows him to be. On the other hand, Pablo's sister, Luz Maria Escobar, sings a different tune from her mother. She recognizes the crimes of her brother and has since tried to make amends with the families of Pablo's victims. It is said that she leaves letters and flowers in their graves and has organized charity events to make up, even for a little, for her brother's sins. To us, he is a criminal, the most notorious drug kingpin of all time, but to them, he's a brother, a son, a husband, and a father.